The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched as wide as 3 Earth cities. Beings from 47 different worlds sat in floating chairs that moved through the air like gentle clouds. The air hummed with the sound of translation devices turning alien words into something everyone could understand. Ambassador Hyunwoo stood at the center of it all. His simple Earth uniform looked plain next to the shining robes and metal suits worn by the other species. He held a small device in his hands that showed pictures from across the galaxy. His face was serious as he spoke to the gathered aliens. "The situation has become worse," he said. His voice carried to every corner of the massive room. "Elder Taemin is dying. With him will die the last of the dragon race." A soft sound of worry came from many of the alien representatives. The dragons were old, older than any other species in the galaxy. They had been alive when most of the other races were still living in caves or swimming in oceans. Their wisdom had helped shape the laws that kept peace between worlds. The hologram above Hyunwoo's head showed a planet that looked like it was covered in gold and crystal. This was Dracoris Prime, the home world of the dragons. But now the golden light was fading. The crystals that had once sung with beautiful music were going dark one by one. Chancellor Nara, the leader of the Valkyrie people, spoke from her floating chair. Her voice sounded like wind through metal tubes. "We have sent our best healing machines. Our doctors have studied the dragon for months. Nothing works. Why do the humans think they can do what we cannot?" Dr. Sunja, Earth's top scientist, stepped forward. She was a small woman with kind eyes and gray hair. In her hands she carried a tablet filled with information about the dying dragon. "We have been studying the problem from a different angle," she said. "The dragons do not die like other beings. They are connected to something called the Great Resonance." "Tell us something we do not already know," said a Zenthari representative. His 6 arms moved in patterns that showed he was not impressed. "The Great Resonance is the harmonic field that keeps dragon life force stable. The cosmic radiation from the nearby pulsar has damaged it beyond repair." Sunja nodded. "That is correct. But we think the problem is not just scientific. The Great Resonance is not just energy. It is music. It is the song that the universe sings to keep certain kinds of life alive." Many of the aliens looked confused. Music was something most of them knew about but did not think was important. To them it was just noise that some species made for fun. The hologram changed to show the inside of a great cave. Crystal formations reached from floor to ceiling like frozen waterfalls. In the center lay a shape so big it was hard to understand what they were looking at. This was Elder Taemin, the last dragon. His body was as long as a human building was tall. Scales that had once shone like mirrors now looked dull and gray. His great wings were folded against his sides and his breathing was slow and difficult. Around him the crystals that had once glowed with warm light were becoming dark and cold. Captain Jong-soo, commander of the Earthship Harmony, joined his wife at the front of the assembly. He was a tall man with steady hands and a calm voice. "We request permission to visit Dracoris Prime," he said. "We believe humans might be able to help where others have failed." This caused a stir among the alien representatives. Many of them began talking at once. Their translation devices created a noise like a storm of whispers. "Impossible," said Chancellor Nara. "Humans are the youngest species in the Council. You have barely learned to travel between stars. What could you possibly know about harmonic life matrices that we do not?" "Perhaps something you have forgotten," said Master Historian Kyung-ho. He was an old man who had spent his life studying the history of Earth and other worlds. "Before we had machines and computers, humans had other ways of understanding the universe." The Valkyrie Chancellor made a sound like laughing, but not in a nice way. "You speak of primitive magic and old stories. We deal in science and facts." Kyung-ho's eyes grew serious. "Sometimes the oldest ways are the most powerful ways. On Earth we have songs that are older than our written history. Songs that our ancestors said could heal the sick and call rain from clear skies. We stopped believing in them when we learned to make machines. But perhaps we stopped too soon." The hall grew quiet. Even the floating chairs seemed to stop moving as everyone listened. Ambassador Hyunwoo activated his hologram again. This time it showed readings from the dragon's life signs. Lines of light moved across the display, showing the slow fade of something that had lived for thousands of years. "Elder Taemin has perhaps 6 Earth days left to live," he said. "When he dies, the harmonic network that connects this entire sector of the galaxy will collapse. Trade routes will be lost. Communication between worlds will become impossible. Billions of beings will be cut off from each other. The weight of these words settled over the assembly like a heavy blanket. This was not just about one dying dragon, no matter how ancient and wise. This was about the survival of their entire civilization. Dr. Sunja spoke again, her voice gentle but determined. We ask only for a chance. If we fail, nothing will be different than it would be anyway. But if we succeed, we might save not just Elder Taemin, but the future of peaceful contact between all our worlds. Chancellor Nara was quiet for a long moment. Her metal face showed no emotion, but her 4 eyes blinked in the pattern that meant she was thinking hard. Very well, she said at last. The humans may try, but we will send observers. And if your primitive methods cause harm to Elder Taemin or damage the remaining harmonic crystals, Earth will answer to the full justice of the Galactic Council. Ambassador Hyunwoo bowed his head in thanks. We understand. We will leave immediately. As the Great Assembly began to break up, beings from many worlds floating away to their own ships and concerns, Dr. Sunja touched her husband's arm. Jongsu, she said quietly, we will need to bring Jae-ho with us. I cannot find anyone to care for him while we are gone, and this mission may take weeks. Captain Jongsu frowned. Their 8-year-old son had never been on such a dangerous mission, but looking at the fading image of the dying dragon, he knew they had no choice. Time was running out, and every moment spent making arrangements was a moment they could not spare. Then we take him, he said, but he stays on the ship. No matter what happens, he stays safe. Neither parent could have known that their young son would prove to be the key to everything they hoped to accomplish. In the cargo hold of their ship, young Jae-ho was already humming an old song his grandmother had taught him, never knowing that this simple melody would soon echo through crystal caves and bring hope back to a dying world. The Earthship Harmony moved through space like a silver needle threading through black cloth. Young Jae-ho pressed his small face against the observation deck window, watching stars wheel past in patterns of light that looked like scattered diamonds. His breath made small clouds on the cold glass as he hummed quietly to himself. The song came from deep in his memory. His grandmother had sung it to him when he was very little and could not sleep. She had called it a healing song, something passed down through many generations of their family. The melody was simple but somehow seemed to reach places inside him that other songs could not touch. Captain Jongsu found his son there as the ship prepared to drop out of hyperspace. The boy was so focused on the view outside that he did not notice his father approaching until a gentle hand touched his shoulder. We are almost there, Jae-ho, his father said softly. Would you like to see the dragon planet? The boy turned away from the window, his eyes bright with excitement. Will I really see a dragon, Papa? A real one? Jongsu's expression grew sad. Yes, son, but remember what your mother and I told you. Elder Taemin is very sick. He might not look like the dragons in your picture books. Jae-ho nodded seriously. Even at 8 years old, he understood that sometimes grown-ups had to do important work that made them worried and sad. He had seen his parents talking in quiet voices late at night, looking at papers covered with numbers and charts he could not read. The ship's speakers crackled to life. Dr. Sunja's voice came from the bridge, where she was monitoring their approach to Dracoris Prime. Dropping out of hyperspace in 30 seconds. Everyone prepare for normal space transition. The stars outside the window suddenly stopped moving in smooth lines and became points of light again. Ahead of them, growing larger every moment, was a planet that looked like it was made of gold and crystal. Even from space, they could see the massive structures that covered its surface, gleaming towers and domed buildings that caught and reflected sunlight in patterns too beautiful to describe. But something was wrong. The light that came from the planet seemed weak, as if a curtain was being drawn across a bright lamp. Areas that should have been blazing with golden fire were dim or completely dark. The harmonic resonance fields are failing faster than we calculated, Dr. Sunja said over the ship's communication system. We may have less time than we thought. Master Historian Kyung-ho joined them at the observation window. His old face was lined with worry as he studied the dying world below. In his hands he carried a thick book bound in dark leather, filled with pages of notes and research he had gathered over many years. The records speak of Dracoris Prime as a world where music took physical form, he said, more to himself than to the others. The dragons learned to shape reality through harmonic frequencies. They built their entire civilization around the principle that sound and vibration were the fundamental forces of creation. Jae-ho looked up at the old historian with interest. Like singing? Kyung-ho smiled down at the boy. Yes, very much like singing, but singing with such precision and power that it could make things happen in the real world. The dragons discovered that certain combinations of sounds could encourage life to grow, could heal wounds, could even extend the natural lifespan of living beings. Is that why Elder Taemin is sick? Jae-ho asked. Because the singing stopped working? The historian's smile faded. Something like that, child. The cosmic radiation from a nearby pulsar has disrupted the harmonic fields that the dragons depend on for life. It is like a radio that can no longer pick up the station it needs to hear. As they descended through the planet's atmosphere, the ship began to vibrate in a way that felt strange and unsettling. It was not the normal shaking that came from entering a world's air envelope. This was something different, a deep thrumming that seemed to come from the planet itself. The entire world is resonating at frequencies that are slowly decaying, Dr. Sunja explained from the bridge. The harmonic matrix that keeps this place stable is breaking down. We can feel it in the ship's hull. Through the observation window, they could now see the surface of Dracoris Prime in detail. Great crystal formations rose from the ground like frozen music, their surfaces catching the pale sunlight and sending it dancing in rainbows across the landscape. But many of the crystals were cracked or had gone completely dark. Ancient cities built from materials that looked like solidified song spread across continents. Bridges made of crystallized sound waves spanned vast canyons. Gardens where plants grew in perfect mathematical harmonies stretched to the horizon. But everywhere the signs of decay were visible. The music that held this world together was dying. There, Captain Jong-soo pointed toward a massive mountain range in the distance. The navigation system shows the main harmonic center is located in those peaks. That is where we will find Elder Taemin. As they flew closer, they could see that the mountains were not natural formations at all. They had been grown from enormous crystals, shaped by centuries of dragon song into soaring spires that reached toward the sky like frozen melodies. Openings in the crystal walls showed passages and chambers that disappeared deep into the mountain's heart. The landing platform they approached was clearly very old but still functional. Ancient dragon script was carved into the crystal surface, glowing faintly with inner light that pulsed in rhythm with the planet's failing heartbeat. The ship settled onto the platform with barely a whisper of landing jets. Jae-ho pressed closer to the window as they came to rest. The air outside shimmered with energy patterns that looked almost like visible music, waves of light and shadow that danced across the crystal surfaces. But the dance was slowing down, becoming weaker with each passing moment. "Can you hear it, Papa?" the boy asked quietly. "Hear what, son?" "The planet is humming. But it sounds sad, like it is trying to remember a song it used to know but cannot quite get right anymore." Captain Jong-soo looked at his son with surprise. The ship's sensors were detecting the harmonic frequencies that Jae-ho described, but they should not have been audible to human ears. Yet his 8-year-old boy seemed to be hearing things that their most advanced equipment could barely measure. Dr. Sunja's voice came over the speakers again. "Prepare for surface operations. Atmospheric conditions are safe for humans, but everyone should carry emergency breathing equipment. The harmonic disturbances may affect our inner ear balance." As the family prepared to leave the ship, Master Historian Kyung-ho placed a gentle hand on Jae-ho's shoulder. "Tell me, young one, does the song you hear remind you of anything you know?" Jae-ho listened carefully to the fading music that drifted through the crystal air. His face grew thoughtful, and he began to hum very softly under his breath. It was the same melody he had been humming during their journey, the old song his grandmother had taught him. "It sounds like someone trying to sing my grandma's lullaby," he said, "but they do not remember all the words." The adults looked at each other with expressions of growing wonder and concern. None of them fully understood what was happening, but they were beginning to realize that young Jae-ho might be more important to this mission than any of them had imagined. The crystal cavern stretched deeper into the mountain than any of them had expected. Dr. Sunja led the way with her portable scanner, its blue light dancing across walls that seemed to be made of frozen music. Each step they took echoed strangely in the vast spaces, creating sounds that bounced back as something almost like a melody. Captain Jong-soo kept one hand on his son's shoulder as they walked. The boy moved with surprising confidence through the tunnels as if he knew where they were going. Sometimes Jae-ho would stop and tilt his head to listen to sounds that the adults could not hear, then nod and continue walking in a slightly different direction. The harmonic resonance is getting stronger as we go deeper, Dr. Sunja reported, checking her instruments. But the patterns are all wrong. It is like listening to a symphony, where half the orchestra has forgotten how to play their instruments. Master historian Kyung-ho ran his fingers along the ancient writing carved into the tunnel walls. The dragon script glowed faintly at his touch, responding to the warmth of living flesh. These inscriptions tell the history of the Great Resonance, he said. According to this, the first dragons did not create the harmonic fields through technology. They sang them into existence. That is impossible, said Dr. Sunja, though her voice lacked conviction. Sound waves cannot maintain stable energy matrices for thousands of years. Perhaps not the kind of sound waves we understand, Kyung-ho replied. But what if there are frequencies that exist beyond our normal hearing? What if the dragons learned to sing in harmonies that touched the very foundation of reality? They rounded a corner and found themselves facing a chamber so vast that their lights could not reach the ceiling. Crystal formations grew from every surface like a forest made of solidified rainbows. In the center of this crystal garden, something moved slowly in the darkness. Elder Tae-min was larger than any living creature the humans had ever seen. His body stretched across the chamber floor like a small hill covered in scales that had once been golden, but were now the color of old brass. Each breath he took sent weak vibrations through the surrounding crystals, making them chime with soft dying notes. Dr. Sunja set up her equipment quickly, scanning the dragon's life signs with instruments that had been specially designed for this mission. The readings that appeared on her screen made her face grow pale with worry. His neural activity is failing in cascade patterns, she said quietly. The harmonic centers in his brain are shutting down one by one. At this rate, he has perhaps 12 hours before complete system collapse. Captain Jong-soo activated his communication device to report back to the Galactic Council, but found only static. The harmonic interference in the caverns was blocking all signals to the outside world. They were completely alone with the dying dragon. Young Jae-ho had wandered closer to Elder Tae-min while the adults worked with their machines. The dragon's massive head lay against the crystal floor, one enormous eye closed in what looked like peaceful sleep. But as the boy approached, that ancient eye slowly opened. The eye was larger than Jae-ho's entire body, golden in color with depths that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. When it focused on the small human child, something remarkable happened. The crystals around them began to glow more brightly, their light pulsing in rhythm with the dragon's slow heartbeat. "Hello," Jae-ho said softly, reaching out to touch the warm scales of the dragon's snout. "My name is Jae-ho. Are you Elder Tae-min?" The dragon's eye blinked once, slowly. Though he could not speak, there was intelligence there and something that might have been curiosity about this small visitor who showed no fear. Dr. Sunja looked up from her equipment with amazement. "The life sign readings just improved by 15%, she said. His neural activity is stabilizing in areas that were completely dark before." Master Historian Kyung-ho approached the dragon with careful respect, bowing low before speaking. "Elder Tae-min, I am Kyung-ho of Earth. We have come to try to help you, though we are not certain how. Our people believe that the Great Resonance might be restored through methods that do not require technology." The dragon's gaze shifted to the old historian, and again the crystals responded with brighter light. Elder Tae-min seemed to be trying to communicate, but the effort was clearly exhausting him. "He is trying to sing," Jae-ho said suddenly, "but he cannot remember the words." "How can you tell that?" his father asked. The boy kept his hand on the dragon's scales, his eyes closed in concentration. "I can feel it. He knows the melody, but the words that go with it are fading away, like when you try to remember a song from when you were little, but you can only hum the tune." Elder Tae-min's great chest rose and fell with visible effort. Then from somewhere deep in his throat came a sound unlike anything the humans had ever heard. It was not quite a voice and not quite music. but something in between. The note was pure and beautiful, but filled with such sadness that it brought tears to their eyes. Every crystal in the vast chamber responded to that single note, lighting up like stars being born. For a moment the cavern was filled with golden light and perfect harmony. Then the sound faded and Elder Taemin's eye slowly closed again, as if even that small effort had drained what little strength remained to him. That was part of the first song, Master Historian Kyung-ho whispered, his voice filled with awe. The melody that the dragons used to create the great resonance. It is recorded in the oldest texts, but no one alive has ever heard it sung by a true dragon. Dr. Sunja checked her readings again. The harmonic pulse from that note resonated through the entire mountain. For just a moment all the crystals were in perfect synchronization, but now they are fading again, faster than before. Jae-ho opened his eyes and looked up at his parents with an expression more serious than any 8-year-old should wear. "He is trying to teach me the song," he said. "But he is too weak to sing it all. He needs help to remember." Captain Jong-soo knelt beside his son, concerned by the strange certainty in the boy's voice. "What do you mean, Jae-ho?" "The song Grandma taught me," Jae-ho said. "It is part of the same music. Elder Taemin recognizes it, but Grandma's song is just one piece. The whole song is much bigger." The adults looked at each other with growing understanding and fear. Earth's most carefully guarded cultural secrets were ancient songs that had been classified as dangerous. If Jae-ho's grandmother had taught him part of the dragon's first song without knowing what it was, then the boy might be carrying the key to saving Elder Taemin's life. But they also knew that such powerful songs came with risks that even the wisest scholars did not fully understand. Elder Taemin's eye opened once more, fixing on young Jae-ho with an intensity that made the crystals around them pulse with urgent light. Time was running out and the dragon was trying to tell them something that could not wait. Captain Jong-soo found his son sitting beside Elder Taemin's great head 3 hours later. The boy had not moved from that spot, his small hand resting on the dragon's warm scales. The massive eye remained open, focused entirely on the child, and the crystals around them glowed with a steady light that had not been there before. "Jae-ho," his father said gently, "you have been here a long time. Your mother is worried about you." The boy looked up with eyes that seemed older than his 8 years. "Elder Taemin is teaching me," he said simply, "but not with words. He shows me pictures in my mind, pictures of how the world used to be when all the dragons could sing together." Dr. Sunja approached with her scanner, checking the readings that had been puzzling her for hours. "The dragon's neural activity has been increasing steadily since you sat down with him," she told her son. "Areas of his brain that were completely dark are starting to show life again. He likes having someone to talk to," Jae-ho said. "He has been alone for so long. The other dragons died one by one, and their songs got quieter and quieter until only his voice was left. But one voice cannot sing a harmony by itself." Master Historian Kyung-ho had been studying the wall inscriptions with growing excitement. He had found sections that described the creation of the great resonance in detail, though much of the text was too ancient for his translation programs to handle properly. "According to these records," he said, "the first song required multiple voices singing in perfect harmony. It was not just one melody, but many melodies woven together like threads in a tapestry. When the dragon population began to decline, they lost the ability to maintain the full song." "But how does that help us now?" Captain Jong-soo asked. "We are humans, not dragons. We cannot sing their songs." Elder Taemin's eyes shifted to look at the captain, and a sound came from deep in the dragon's chest. It was not quite a growl and not quite a sigh, but somehow it felt like disagreement. "He says you are wrong, Papa," Jae-ho translated, though none of them understood how the boy could interpret sounds that had no clear meaning. "He says humans can sing the dragon songs because humans learned music from the same place dragons did. From the stars themselves." Dr. Sunja set down her equipment and sat beside her son. "What else is he telling you, Jae-ho?" The boy closed his eyes and leaned closer to the dragon's massive head. When he spoke again, his voice had a strange, distant quality, as if he were repeating words from a dream. "Long ago, when the universe was young, there was music in the empty spaces between worlds. This music was the sound of creation itself, the song that brought stars to life and taught planets how to spin. Some creatures learned to hear this cosmic music and copy it with their own voices. Dragons were the first to learn," Jae-ho continued, "but they were not the only ones. On a small world far from here, Another species was also learning to sing the star songs. That species was humans. Master historian Kyung-ho felt a chill run down his spine. This matched theories he had developed about Earth's musical heritage, but theories he had never shared because they seemed too incredible to believe. The dragons and humans never met in those early days. The boy went on, his voice still carrying that strange echo of ancient knowledge. Both species forgot that their music came from the same source. Dragons use their songs to build cities and extend their lives. Humans use their songs for healing and calling rain and speaking to the spirits of their ancestors. Elder Taemin made another sound, this one warmer and somehow approving. The crystals around them pulsed with gentle light. But the humans forgot faster than the dragons did, Jae-ho said sadly. They made machines to do what their songs used to do. They decided that music was just for fun, not for real work. Most of the old songs were lost or locked away because people were afraid of their power. Dr. Sunja reached out to touch her son's shoulder, worried by how still and focused he had become. Jae-ho, are you all right? The boy opened his eyes and smiled at his mother, and suddenly he was just an 8-year-old child again. I am fine, Mama. Elder Taemin was showing me the history. He wants me to understand why Grandma's lullaby is so important. What do you mean? Captain Jong-soo asked. Grandma's song is not just a human song, Jae-ho explained. It is part of the star music that both humans and dragons learned long ago. Elder Taemin recognizes it because it fits with the dragon songs, like two pieces of the same puzzle, Master. Historian Kyung-ho pulled out his encrypted datapad and began accessing files that were classified at the highest levels of Earth government. There are records, he said slowly, of certain human songs being restricted because they seemed to affect reality in ways that science could not explain. The incident on Kepler 442b, where a mother's lullaby caused planet-wide changes in plant consciousness. The case in ancient Korea where a funeral song reportedly opened rifts in space-time. Those are just stories, Dr. Sunja protested, though her voice lacked conviction. Are they? Kyung-ho asked. We are sitting in a cavern where crystals respond to sound waves by producing energy. We are watching a dying alien's brain activity increase because an 8-year-old boy is humming a song his grandmother taught him. At what point do we stop calling these things impossible and start calling them miraculous? Elder Taemin's great chest rose and fell in what might have been a sigh of agreement. Then with tremendous effort, the dragon lifted his massive head a few inches from the floor and looked directly at young Jae-ho. The sound that came from the dragon's throat was different this time. It was still weak, still filled with the exhaustion of approaching death, but it carried a melody that seemed to reach into the deepest parts of their hearts. It was beautiful and sad and hopeful all at once. Jae-ho listened with his whole body, his face lighting up with understanding and recognition. When the dragon's voice finally faded, the boy began to hum along with the echo that still rang from the crystals. He sang part of the first song, Jae-ho said excitedly, the part that calls for harmony. He wants me to sing with him. But you do not know the dragon's song, his mother said. Jae-ho smiled with the simple confidence of a child who has just figured out the answer to a difficult puzzle. I do not need to know their song, Mama. I just need to sing Grandma's song at the same time. The star music will make them fit together. The adults looked at each other with a mixture of hope and terror. They were about to let their 8-year-old son attempt something that could either save the last dragon or put the boy in unimaginable danger. But as Elder Taemin's eye began to dim again, they realized they might not have any choice. The argument that started in the crystal chamber echoed through the caverns with sounds that the humans had never heard before. Each angry word seemed to bounce off the crystal walls and come back changed, turned into musical notes that hung in the air like visible things. Ambassador Hyun-woo's voice crackled through Captain Jong-soo's emergency communicator. The signal was weak and full of static, but his worry came through clearly. The Galactic Council is demanding an immediate report. Chancellor Nara says if you do not contact them within 6 hours, they will send a rescue fleet. Tell them we need more time, Jong-soo replied. We are making progress, but the situation is more complex than anyone expected. What kind of progress? Hyun-woo asked. The harmonic sensors on our ships are showing that the resonance field around Dracoris Prime is becoming more unstable. Not less. Dr. Sunja looked up from her equipment with exhaustion written across her face. She had been monitoring Elder Taemin's condition for 18 hours straight, watching the readings climb and fall like a fever chart. The dragon's neural patterns are unlike anything in our medical databases, she said. Every time Jeho sings near him, his brain activity increases dramatically. But when the boy stops, the decline happens faster than before. Master historian Kyung-ho had spent the night translating more of the ancient dragon script on the cavern walls. What he had learned made his hands shake as he wrote notes in his journal. The text described something called the Harmony of Last Resort, he said. It was a song that could call a dying dragon back from the edge of death, but it required perfect cooperation between dragon and human voices. That is impossible, Captain Jong-soo said firmly. Humans and dragons never worked together in ancient times. They lived on worlds too far apart to even know about each other. Did they? Kyung-ho asked quietly. The inscriptions here tell a different story. They speak of visitors from a distant world, beings who sang songs that harmonized perfectly with dragon music. The dragons called them the Star Singers. Young Jeho sat beside Elder Taemin's massive head, apparently unaware of the heated discussion happening around him. The dragon's great eye was fixed on the boy, and occasionally soft sounds would come from deep in the ancient throat. Each time this happened, the crystals throughout the chamber would pulse with gentle light. The Star Singers came here? Dr. Sunja asked, setting down her scanner to listen more carefully to the historian's translation. According to these records, yes, thousands of years ago, before humans had space travel, a small group somehow found their way to Dracoris Prime. They stayed for many years, learning dragon songs and teaching their own music in return. When they finally left, they promised to return if the dragons ever needed their help. Captain Jong-soo felt a chill run through him. Are you suggesting that humans have been here before? That we have some kind of ancient treaty with the dragons? I am suggesting, Kyung-ho said carefully, that maybe we are here not by accident but because we were called. Because somewhere in our genetic memory we still remember the promise our ancestors made. Elder Taemin made a sound that was deeper and more musical than any they had heard from him before. Young Jeho looked up suddenly, his eyes bright with understanding. He says the historian is right, the boy announced. The Star Singers were humans from Earth, but from a very long time ago. They came here by accident, but they stayed because they loved the dragon music so much. How could humans travel between stars thousands of years ago? Dr. Sunja asked. We barely invented spaceflight 200 years ago. Jeho listened to something only he could hear, then nodded seriously. Elder Taemin says they did not travel in ships like we do. They traveled in their dreams, carried by the star music itself. But when they woke up, they were really here. The adults looked at each other with expressions of disbelief and growing wonder. Everything they thought they knew about human history was being challenged by the words of a dying dragon and an 8-year-old boy. There is more, Master Historian Kyung-ho said, reading from his translation notes. The ancient Star Singers left behind something called the Songs of Return, music that would allow their descendants to find Dracoris Prime again when the time was right. Songs like the one Grandma taught me, Jeho said with certainty. She did not know what it really was, but her grandmother taught it to her. And her grandmother learned it from her grandmother, going back and back through all the mothers and grandmothers until it reached the first Star Singers. Dr. Sunja's equipment began beeping urgently. Elder Taemin's life signs were dropping again, this time more rapidly than ever before. The dragon's massive chest rose and fell with increasing difficulty, and the light in his ancient eye was growing dim. We are running out of time, she said with quiet desperation. Whatever we are going to do, it has to happen now. Elder Taemin seemed to understand her words. With enormous effort, he lifted his great head and looked directly at young Jeho. When he opened his mouth, the sound that came out was different from anything they had heard before. It was weak but determined, a melody that seemed to contain the entire history of his people. It was the first song, the music that had created the great resonance and sustained dragon civilization for millions of years. But now it was incomplete, broken, like a symphony with half the instruments missing. Jeho stood up and walked closer to the dragon's massive head. He placed both small hands on the warm scales and closed his eyes, listening not just with his ears but with something deeper. I can hear all of it now, he whispered. The whole song, the dragon part and the human part, woven together like Mama weaves cloth on her loom. He looked back at his parents with an expression of perfect calm and certainty. Elder Taemin is going to sing the dragon song one more time. But this time I will sing the human song with him. Together our voices will remember how to make the harmony that brings life back to dying things. Captain Jong-soo stepped forward, his face tight with worry. Son, we do not know what will happen. These old songs might be dangerous. Jae-ho smiled with the simple faith of a child who has never learned to doubt miracles. It is not dangerous, Papa, it is just singing. Singing with love. Elder Taemin's eye closed briefly, then opened again. In that ancient gaze was something that had not been there for weeks, hope. The moment came without warning or ceremony. Elder Taemin's breathing suddenly became so shallow that Dr. Soonja's instruments could barely detect it. The massive dragon scales, which had been slowly returning to their golden color over the past day, began to fade again toward the dull gray of approaching death. Young Jae-ho stepped forward without hesitation. He placed his small hands on the great dragon's snout, just below the ancient eye that had watched civilizations rise and fall across the galaxy. The boy's face was calm, but his parents could see the weight of responsibility in his young shoulders. "Are you ready, Elder Taemin?" Jae-ho asked softly. The dragon's response came not as a sound, but as a vibration that ran through the crystal formations around them. Every surface in the vast chamber began to hum with harmonics that the human ear could feel more than hear. It was like standing inside a musical instrument while someone played it. Dr. Soonja watched her scanner readings with growing alarm. "His neural patterns are spiking beyond anything I have ever seen," she reported. "If this continues, the strain could kill him within minutes. Or save him," Master Historian Kyung-ho said quietly. "According to the inscriptions, the harmony of last resort either restores perfect health or brings peaceful death. There is no middle ground." Captain Jong-soo reached toward his son, then stopped himself. The boy was no longer just 8-year-old Jae-ho. He had become something more, a bridge between two species that had been separated by vast distances and forgotten. History. Elder Taemin opened his massive mouth and began to sing. The sound that filled the chamber was unlike anything that had ever been heard in the modern galaxy. It was the voice of creation itself, the music that had shaped reality when the universe was young. Each note resonated through dimensions that human science did not have names for, creating harmonics that made the crystal walls shine like captured starlight. But the song was incomplete. Beautiful beyond description, but broken, like trying to play a symphony with half the orchestra missing. Jae-ho closed his eyes and began to sing his grandmother's lullaby. His voice was small and clear, the simple song of a human child. But as the melody joined with Elder Taemin's ancient harmonies, something miraculous happened. The two songs did not just blend together, they completed each other. The lullaby that had been passed down through generations of human mothers was revealed to be the missing half of the first song, the piece that had been lost when the star singers returned to Earth thousands of years ago. Dragon and human voices wove together like threads of light, creating a tapestry of sound that rewrote the laws of physics in the space around them. The crystal formations throughout the chamber blazed to life with colors that had no names in any language. Light poured from every surface, not harsh and blinding, but warm and welcoming like sunrise after the longest night. The harmonic resonance that had been failing for weeks suddenly roared back to perfect strength. Dr. Soonja's instruments went wild as energy readings climbed beyond the maximum scales. But this was not the chaotic surge of a system overloading. It was the ordered power of something, returning to its natural state after long illness. Elder Taemin's scales brightened from dull gray to brilliant gold to something beyond gold, a color that seemed to contain all the light of every star in the galaxy. His massive body, which had been withered and weak, began to expand with returning vitality. Wings that had been folded in defeat spread wide, revealing membranes that caught the crystal light and threw it back in patterns too beautiful to comprehend. The song seemed to last forever, and no time at all. When the final notes faded, the silence that followed was not empty but full, pregnant with possibilities and new beginnings. Elder Taemin raised his great head high for the first time in months. When he spoke, his voice resonated through every crystal in the mountain with the full power of restored dragon majesty. "Star Singer," he said, and his words came out in perfect human language. "You have given us the greatest gift possible. You have reminded us how to truly live." Jae-ho swayed slightly on his feet, exhausted by the effort of channeling such cosmic forces through his small body. Captain Jong-soo caught his son as the boy began to fall, lifting him into arms that trembled with relief and amazement. Did it work? Jeho asked sleepily. Is Elder Taman going to be okay? The dragon's laugh was like music made of pure joy, a sound that set every crystal in the cavern ringing like bells. More than okay, young one. I am renewed. The great resonance flows through me with strength I had forgotten was possible. Dr. Sunja stared at her instruments in disbelief. His life signs are not just stable. They are better than anything in our database for any species. It is as if he has become younger instead of older. Master Historian Kyung-ho approached the great dragon with tears streaming down his face. Elder Taman, on behalf of humanity, I must ask your forgiveness. We forgot our promise. We forgot the star singers and the songs they left behind. The dragon's massive head lowered until he was eye level with the old historian. There is nothing to forgive, Keeper of Memories. The star singers knew that their descendants would forget. That is why they hid the songs and simple melodies that mothers would sing to their children. They trusted that when the time came, the music would remember itself. Throughout the cavern system, crystals that had been dark for weeks began to glow again. The harmonic network that connected not just Dracoris Prime but the entire sector of space was returning to full power. Communication channels that had been failing were suddenly stronger than ever. Young Jeho had fallen asleep in his father's arms, a peaceful smile on his face. He had saved not just one dragon, but the foundation of galactic civilization, and he had done it with nothing more than a simple song his grandmother had taught him, sung with love and perfect faith. Elder Taemin gazed at the sleeping child with profound gratitude. The humans have given us more than life, he said softly. They have given us hope, and perhaps if we are very lucky, they have given us friends. The Last Dragon, Part 7. The Great Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council had never been so quiet. Representatives from 47 different worlds sat in their floating chairs, listening to Ambassador Hyunwoo deliver his final report with expressions of amazement and disbelief on their alien faces. Elder Taemin has not only recovered completely, he announced, but his restoration has strengthened the harmonic network beyond its previous capacity. Communication systems throughout this sector of the galaxy now operate at efficiency levels we have never seen before. Chancellor Nara of the Velkari rose from her chair, her 4 eyes blinking in patterns that showed deep thought. You are telling us that a human child succeeded where our most advanced technology failed. How is this possible? Dr. Sunja stepped forward with her data tablets and scanning results. Our analysis shows that human music operates on frequencies that we previously did not know existed. What we call singing is actually a form of reality manipulation so sophisticated that we never recognized it as science. That is impossible, declared the Zenthari representative, his 6 arms gesturing dismissively. Music is art, not technology. It cannot affect the physical structure of the universe. Master Historian Kyung-ho activated a holographic display showing the ancient dragon inscriptions he had translated. The historical records suggest otherwise. Our species have encountered each other before, thousands of years ago. The dragons called our ancestors the Star Singers because of their ability to use music as a tool for healing and creation. But how did early humans travel between stars without space technology? Asked a representative from the water world of Aquanus. According to Elder Taemin, they did not travel in physical ships, Kyung-ho explained. They projected their consciousness across space using the same harmonic frequencies that sustain the dragon life matrix. When they arrived at Dracoris Prime, their bodies manifested from the music itself. The assembly erupted in confused voices speaking dozens of different languages. The translation devices worked overtime to keep up with the flood of questions and disbelief. Ambassador Hyunwoo raised his hand for quiet. I know this is difficult to accept, but I have seen the results with my own eyes. Young Jeho sang an ancient lullaby, and it restored life to a being who was hours from death. The evidence is undeniable. Where is this child now? Chancellor Nara demanded. We must study this phenomenon more closely. Jeho is resting aboard our ship, Captain Jong-soo replied firmly. The effort of channeling such cosmic forces exhausted him completely. He slept for 3 full days after the healing. And what of the dragon? Asked another representative. What are his intentions now that he has been restored? As if summoned by the question, the great holographic display at the center of the assembly hall flickered to life. Elder Taemin's massive head appeared. his golden scales gleaming with vitality that made the watching aliens gasp in wonder. "Honored representatives," the dragon said, his voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. "I bring greetings from Dracoris Prime and a message of gratitude that spans the ages." The dragon's gaze seemed to find each member of the assembly individually. "For too long, my people grew isolated in our pride. We believed our ancient knowledge made us superior to younger species. Today we have learned that wisdom comes not from age, but from the willingness to help others without expecting reward. The humans have shown us something we had forgotten," Elder Taman continued. "They demonstrated that the most powerful force in the universe is not technology or ancient knowledge, but simple compassion expressed through the oldest art forms. In their child song we heard the voice of creation itself." Chancellor Nara leaned forward in her floating chair. "What does this mean for the future of galactic relations?" "It means that humanity must take its proper place in the community of worlds," the dragon replied. "Not as the youngest or least advanced species, but as the keepers of wisdom that the rest of us have lost. They understand something about the fundamental nature of reality that our science cannot measure or duplicate." Dr. Sunja felt a hand on her shoulder and turned to see young Jeho approaching with his parents. The boy looked rested but somehow older, as if the experience in the crystal caverns had changed him in ways that went beyond the physical. "Are you talking about my song?" Jeho asked, looking up at the giant hologram of Elder Taman with the easy familiarity of a child talking to a friend. The dragon's eyes softened with affection. "Hello, Starsinger. Yes, we are discussing how your grandmother's lullaby has changed the galaxy forever." "It was not just my song," Jeho said seriously. "You sang too, Elder Taman. The harmony only worked because we sang together." "Wise words from one so young," the dragon agreed. "And that, honored representatives, is perhaps the most important lesson of all. The greatest achievements come not from one species working alone, but from different peoples, joining their strengths in harmony. Master." Historian Kyung-ho stepped forward with a proposal that he had been developing since their return from Dracoris Prime. "I suggest that Earth be granted permission to establish a new department within the Galactic Council. We would call it the Cultural Harmony Institute, dedicated to studying and preserving the musical traditions of all member species." "And what would be the purpose of such an institute?" asked the Aquinas representative. "To ensure that we never again lose touch with the power of our oldest art forms," Kyung-ho replied. "The dragons nearly died because they forgot how to sing in harmony with others. Humanity nearly lost the Star Singer songs because we dismissed them as primitive superstition. How many other species have abandoned abilities they do not even remember having?" The vote was unanimous. Within hours, plans were being made for the construction of a massive cultural center that would orbit the Galactic Council headquarters. Species from across the galaxy would send their most ancient songs and stories to be studied and preserved. Young Jae-ho would become the Institute's first director of human cultural studies, though he would not officially take the position until he was older. For now, he was content to return to Earth and continue learning songs from his grandmother, never knowing which simple melody might contain the power to heal worlds. As the harmony prepared for departure, Elder Taman sent one final message to the human family that had saved his life and changed the galaxy forever. "Starsinger," his voice whispered through the ship's communication system, "remember always that you carry within yourself the music of creation. Use it wisely, use it with love, and know that wherever your people travel among the stars, you will always have a friend who remembers the song you sang in the crystal caverns." The ship entered hyperspace, carrying its precious cargo of human musicians back toward Earth. Behind them, Dracoris Prime blazed with renewed life, its crystal cities singing harmonies that would echo through the cosmos for generations to come. And in the quiet of his cabin, young Jae-ho hummed softly to himself, already learning a new song his grandmother had promised to teach him when they got home. This one, she had said with a mysterious smile, was about making rain dance and teaching flowers to bloom in perfect mathematical patterns. The galaxy had learned an important lesson about the power of music. But for Jae-ho, it was still just singing, and he had so many more songs to learn.